So today we already talked about repotting a tropical plant. We repotted this gorgeous Philodendron Congo Rojo, and you can find the video, I don't know, I think before, after, wherever you landed. Now we're going to talk about repotting an arid plant, this Euphorbia ferox. A lot of people ask how to repot really spiky plants so you don't end up with thorns or spines in your hand for the rest of the day. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Also, this guy I chose because it is a bit unique in shape. So how I would go about tackling repotting of this guy so that perhaps it centers a little bit and you can just show off its beautiful form a little bit more. So a little bit about Euphorbia ferox before we get started. It is native to South Africa. It is a euphorbia. It is not a cactus. They're in different families, different genus. Euphorbia, the main distinction between euphorbia and cacti is euphorbia have thorns, whereas cacti have spines. It's confusing because some euphorbia don't even have thorns and some cacti look like they have thorns but not spines. But you get it over time or you just look it up. But the main thing to know about euphorbia is that if we were to cut inside the tissue of this plant, there's a milky white latex that is actually an irritant to the skin, can cause temporary blindness, so you don't want to put your fingers in your eyes. You should wear gloves when you repot, which I will today. And you don't want to let your kids or pets eat this plant. I wouldn't suggest eating it either. Don't worry, plenty of people have euphorbia at home, and everybody is, as much as I know, still alive and healthy. So moving on. Okay, what do we need to repot this beautiful euphorbia today? We need a pot. We're going to choose which one. We need gloves. We need paper. You can also use paper when repotting spiky things. And we need soil. So I love this cactus mix by Black Gold. It's what we sell at the shop. We can deliver it to you if you need it. It is one of the best cactus soils I've ever come across commercially. We usually make our own or we amend it, but I really think that this cactus soil is a great mix. I'll open it up so we can take a look at the soil structure. So we will start with opening up the bag. And as I talked about in our last video, always smell the soil when you open up a bag. You want it to smell fresh. You want it to smell like dirt, which it does. Good bag. If it smells mildewy at all, do not use it, unfortunately. You just don't want to risk adding any mildew into your potted plant. Okay, so which pot do I want to use? So I picked these two pots because they are two good sizes to up pot from this size here. This is a 4-inch nursery pot. Usually you want to go an inch or two wider and taller when you up pot. Because I know that this sort of plant is drought tolerant and wants direct sun, it does not want to sit in a bunch of moisture. So I actually like to keep my pots relatively small even when I up pot so that the root ball stays tight and I avoid any sort of moisture retention or overwatering, especially in the winter time. So I'm not going to go into a smaller planter, but I'm not going to go into a really big one. So I'm either going to stay in this size, which is like a little bit larger, and I really like the coloring, the corking base that matches with the wood-fired color of this pot. I also like just classic terracotta, and so I'm also gonna like tilt it and see what it would look like if it were to straighten out a little bit, and that looks nice. Okay, so which am I gonna do? Which am I gonna do? Let's go with the Terra. Nope, let's go with the Chroma. We call these Chroma. These are made by Jordan Cologne. Hey, Jordan. Okay, so how to start. I'm gonna put on my gloves and Repotting plants, you always try to repot your plants only when your plant is dry. And don't ever yank your plant out of the pot. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. That loosens the root ball, and let gravity help you. And then you just slide it out. Okay, so this root ball is gonna fall apart on me. That means it's a young root ball. There's nothing wrong with that. But as you can see, there's roots at the bottom here, but there's not much at the top. So it's actually good that we chose the smaller planter, because look at that. It just fell right apart on us. That's totally okay, but we know that our decision was sound to use a smaller planter, because look at that root ball. It's a pretty small root ball. Totally okay. So what we're gonna start with, I have a screen in this planter to stop the soil from falling through the drainage hole. I'm gonna place soil down here so that it can support the roots that are falling down. Okay, so that's how I want this to stand now. Remember how before it was like this? I'd like it to go up a little straight. So let's see if this planter is deep enough. So now I'm gonna fill in. Let me show you what's going on. So you see all that negative space in there? We need to fill soil all around this negative space between the plant and the pot. Now this is kind of a special scenario because the root ball just totally fell apart. So now we just have these roots. We don't have an intact root ball like we did with the Congo Rojo. So we're gonna have to work with this, and it's gonna be a little bit harder to pot. So this is where you can make the mistake to compact soil too much. So let's even see if this pot is the best pot for this plant. We actually might have to use the deeper one, but let's see. We're going with it, all right? I'm gonna take some soil from my cactus mix. I'm gonna put it on the table here so I can mix it with the soil that it was planted in. Now the soil structure of this cactus mix is really nice. You see how gritty that is? It's got perlite, it's got bark, it's got some regular old potting mix. It's a really nice gritty soil. If you ribbon it in your hands and you open, there's just a little bit of the soil sticking together. That means that there's some moisture retention, which is good, but then you see how it falls apart? That's what you want in a cactus soil. You don't want it to stick together too much. You don't want that much soil retention. Okay, so back here. So I'm gonna keep these roots suspended, and then I'm going to drop in the soil around the roots, which actually helps the soil fall into place around the roots without stuffing the roots down too much. You see, it's already standing up. That's great. That's a great sign. As you can see, I'm very excited about this. And I'm using these gloves. I didn't really need this paper. You could have used this paper, you know, if you're really sensitive to thorns, you can hold the cactus with paper like this as well. Gloves work fine for me. Oh, see, it already fell. Okay, so let's see if this guy will stand up on its own. So I'm gonna fill soil around the sides. And I'm gonna use my brush. And that gets soil out of the thorns without me having to stick my fingers in there. And then I use the butt of the brush to just create a little bit of a stronger foundation. That's nice. That is nice. It is staying strong. Oh, that makes me really happy. Sometimes if a root ball falls apart too much and it just really doesn't stay up straight, then I'll add rocks around the top of the root ball, which helps for structure. I love showing the base of mature plants that have corked. If you have a cactus, euphorbia, or succulent that has this woody look to it, congratulations, you have kept your beauty alive for long enough for it to cork. It's a natural progression of age for arid plants like this. Even tropical plants, it's just like creating like a stronger bark. Cells die on the outside. I'm not gonna get into it. I also don't wanna speak wrong because I've done that before. Okay, guys, this Euphorbia ferox is potted and it's beautiful, if I may say so myself. It is standing beautifully. We're still showing off its gorgeous form, but it's a little bit more upright. So now it's gonna keep growing. It's gonna go straight instead of, remember how it was before, to the side. So that's how you repot a spiky plant.